If there is one creature to enjoy the company of the fairies, to understand their prickly charm, their unpredictability, and their wild nature, it is surely the cat. Or maybe the crow too, but let's talk about the cat today. If it is possible to linger in the space between us and the fairy realm, to see things that most cannot see, the cat is one creature who could. G'day, I'm Kitty. Welcome to Fairy Encounters. Some cultures consider cats to be good omens or bad omens, seers or messengers from the spirit world, while others worship cats as gods or god adjacent. But did you know that over the ages, many people have believed that some cats are actually fairies in disguise, or if not fairies themselves, that they enjoy an alliance with the fairy realm. Either way, it's no stretch to draw parallels between cats and the fairy folk. In this video, I have 21 incredible true stories of cats and fairies. Now, some are long and some are quite short, but fair warning to you, these aren't cute and cuddly stories. We are dealing with fairies here, so these stories are really weird, and some are very dark too. So settle in and get comfy, and I'll see you on the other side. I'm what you'd call a skeptic, but I know that cats have been worshipped for thousands of years, and I wonder if there's actually something to that. I fully believe that my cat could read minds, move between places inexplicably, and send his spirit to places. So to my mind, cats are something. I just don't know what. I know that cats are quick and they're crafty, but explain this. I would be in one room with the cat, then I'd walk down the singular hallway and he would be waiting for me there on the bed in the bedroom, and not even panting. I mean, there was one way to get to this location and I just walked it. He didn't pass me. And when he saw my surprise, he would give me this sort of sort of knowing grin. It was so freaky. And he did this all the time. One time, there was this addition to the house that we'd bought that had a singular deadbolt lock that no one had a key for. He liked messing with me in particular. Sometimes it was really scary, but sometimes it was just playful. But this was one of the times where he had this look on his face of, I'm going to F you up. So anyway, I stayed in this addition to the house. The door was glass and I could see that he was pacing in front of this glass door, like a lion waiting for his food. And that night, I had the strangest dream of being attacked by a werewolf, and I woke up with claw marks on my back, and he's in the room, and the door was still locked. I checked for holes everywhere. There was nothing, and no one has a key that could have let them in. And I certainly wouldn't have let him in. That's why I was in the room to begin with, to be away from him. Oftentimes I would let him out and then I'd turn around and he's back inside. It's like 30 degrees out and there's no drafts, there's no entryways, or anyone else at home, and he couldn't have gotten inside that fast, even if there was. One time there was just my brother and I at home, and we were playing video games. My brother let the cat outside and locked the door, and he literally appeared about 5 feet in front of us, and then he scurried off. My brother and I both saw him exit and then reappear. No one else was home. There was no physical way of entry. Your face could be as still and emotionless as a statue, and he would know exactly your thoughts and make specific reactions to them. But probably one of the weirdest things he ever did was when I had to move away. I moved 1,000 miles away, and I left the cat in my brother's care for him to look after while I was away. My cat would visit me in ghost or phantom form, just to mess with me, I think. I'd be studying or watching TV, and a green ghost sort of version would walk in, give me like a, "Hey, how you going?" look, sometimes a meow, and then walk through the other wall. He did that about once a month in the time that I was away from home. There's something that's just not right about an old cat, and it's well not to annoy them. I was in the house one night and one came in, and he tried to bring away the candle that was lighted in the candlestick and it standing on the table. I had a little rod beside me and I made a hit at him with it. And with that, he dropped the candle and made at me as if to tear me apart. I went down on my knees and asked his pardon 3 times. And when I asked it the 3rd time, he got quiet all of a minute and then went out the door. I never saw that cat again. Patrick O'Hara of Rathesby was crossing the stile out of the field with the fairy fort, Gibney's fort it was. His dog, which he called the Long Dog, was with him. As he crossed the stile, he saw a little black thing like a cat with fiery eyes. O'Hara said that he nearly got weak, meaning collapsed, but he managed to cross the stile and then he went astray. He walked and walked around for a long time and was just about to walk into the canal when Long Dog went in front of him and kept him back. This seemed to break the stray, and he went home all right then. There's a fort in Courtine. It's in Joe Fanning's field. One night, Daniel Mulligar saw a cat in the field near that fairy fort. He thought to himself to catch the cat, but every time he had his hands on her, she would run away again. The cat kept at that until she had led him right to the edge of the fort. When Daniel noticed where he was, he thought better of it and went home. One night, when my father was a young boy, he was passing by the old church in Moadshill and he saw fairies dancing in a field near it. That same day, when he was away from home, a cat had entered his cottage and jumped up on the table and began to drink the milk. When my father's mother saw the cat, she hit it with her brush. The cat jumped off the table and as she ran out the door, she said, "Hard times." When my grandfather got home that day, his wife told him what had happened, and he was ill pleased. He got a bag, found the cat, and put it into it. Then he threw her into a stream near their house. About 12 o'clock that same night, their whole place was full of cats, and more were trying to come in the window and trying to come down the chimney. For luck, she said, my grandmother sprinkled Easter water about the house, which succeeded in banishing the cats. The next morning, they went to where they had drowned the cat, but she had disappeared. There was nothing but the tracks of cats' claws, and all the bank was beaten into mud. The people said that it was the fairies that had appeared and taken the cat. The land of Knockadoo is haunted. One night 3 good hardy fellows went to steal gooseberries there. They were about to begin their picking when a big black cat appeared and walked before them to each bush, and his eyes were glaring like a lamp. The boys got afraid at last and set off running, but the cat followed them, and then, as they jumped out across the boundary wall, there was a man and a woman standing on the road, and as they watched the cat, the man and the woman disappeared through the wall. It is said that nothing can be stolen from that field after 12 at night, for the black cat guards it. There is a big rock in Cloger, and people say that there are a lot of treasures hidden under it, and there are letters written on this rock which no person can read. Once a man took a spade and tried to lift the rock, but a big, vicious-looking black cat appeared on the top of the rock and started to spit at him. The man ran away. The people say that this cat guards the rock for the fairies. One time a man had a field sowed with corn. He used to get up every morning at daylight to get it cut, for fear that somebody would come and take some. One morning he went out and he heard a child crying behind some corn. He went down there and saw a woman with a child. "If the child is thirsty," he said, "you can go and milk a cow and get some milk for it." When the cows were brought in that morning, right enough, one of the cows was already half milked. The next morning he went out into the field, and he was surprised to see a man in his good field of corn. He wondered at this, but before he had time to give out to the man about it, the man handed him a cat and said, "You have been good to my child, and for your kindness I'm giving you this cat, and as long as you keep the cat, you will never want for anything else." From that day, himself and his family never knew what want was. The man was getting richer and richer, and one day he had a party, and the parish priest was one of the guests. When the feast was going on in the parlour room, the cat appeared, and it jumped up on the priest's knee. Immediately, the priest let out a screech. He hit the cat and threw it off his knee. Immediately, the cat left and ran away. From that day on, the man's luck turned and he lost everything. And before long, he was as poor as when he had started. He knew that he had offended the fairies. There is a fort in Ballymakia called Murray's Fort. The shape of this fort is round and it's surrounded by a fence. Now, one night, a man went to search for gold in Murray's Fort. A fairy came to him and told him to search for the gold and to not be afraid. Encouraged by this, the man began to search for the gold, and while he did, the fairy turned herself into a large cat. At this, the man got afraid and went away. Again, the fairy appeared before him and told him not to be afraid. So he turned back to the fort and began searching for the gold again. As he did, the cat appeared before him again. The man fell faint in fear. The fairy angrily struck him, dumb and blind, and told him never again to interfere with their fort. One night, a number of men were playing cards in the house of Smith in Frail. When 10 o'clock came, a man that none of them recognised came into the house and joined in their game of cards. At about 1 o'clock, when the game was ended, the man who came in last stood up and said, "I will not leave this house until someone gives me something." But no one had anything to give him, so there he stood. Then the man saw the cat was running out of the house, and when the cat was walking by the man, he quickly lifted it and ran away. The people believed that he was a fairy. Long ago, a man named Peter Kenny in Shedane was coming home from Birmingham's very late one night. As he was coming down the Boreen, he thought he saw a woman whom he believed to be from the village going down the Boreen before him. As he drew near to the figure, it began to get small, then smaller and smaller, until it was the size of a large cat. When he came near it, it ran into the furs, and even though this man knew that this was a fairy cat, he went into the furs after it, and when it saw him, it was the size of a small donkey. It purred at him, then raised its paws with its claws extended. It would have scraped him, he knew, had he not gone away very quickly. This fairy cat is supposed to be in that furs to this day, and it is said it can change itself into anything. Brian Dowd dreamed of a pot of gold which was supposed to be hidden in his own fort. In the dream, he was told that the treasury was watched over by a fairy woman. He also was told to go there by 5 o'clock the next evening and to take a spade and a crowbar with him. So he did. He followed the instruction in his dream. He went to the fort in the evening just as he had been told. When he was coming near the fort, he heard a lonely cry inside of it. He looked in and saw the biggest cat he ever saw, tearing at the very spot where the treasure was supposed to be. The sight of the cat terrified Brian. He turned and went home, and he never sought out that treasure again. There is a rath in my home district. It is situated in Mr. John Ryan's field. This rath is circular in shape and is surrounded by a fence and also by trees. There is a hole in the middle of this rath, and the hole is about 8 feet deep, and no one has ever been down into that hole because people are afraid to do so. There are fairies living in that rath. One day, Brian Condren was going to the creamery, and as he was passing that rath, a big white cat ran out of it. Condren set his dog after the cat, and the cat frightened the dog to such an extent that it ran away, whining and squealing. There was once a woman who could get no butter from her cream. She went to the local fairy man, the man wise to the ways of the fairies, and told him her story. He asked her if anything happens while she is milking, and she said that a black cat comes and sits at the cowhouse door. He told her then that it was her woman neighbour who was taking her butter. He advised her to heat a horseshoe in the fire and to strike the cat with it, then to run into the house next door and she would get back her butter. The next morning, she did so. She struck the cat on the forehead, then ran in next door and asked for the woman of the house. The daughter said she was just gone to bed as she had burnt herself with some boiling water. The woman, who could not get her butter previously, now had no further cause to complain. There lived a man named Owen Month and his wife in Crosshill, County Roscommon. This man had a cat, and one day she stole into the dairy and drank a tub of cream. For doing this, he attempted to scald her with boiling water, and the cat fled. The following day, the cat returned, but she wasn't alone. She had brought a crowd of large cats with her. One of the cats was remarkably large and had a sharp nail 3 inches long on the top of its tail. This huge and strange-looking cat entered the house and, according to Mrs. Month, asked where was Owen. The shaken woman replied that he was out. The cat spoke once more and said that he had used all his luck not to be there, and the woman knew exactly what it meant by this. She hurriedly placed a wide tub of cream out for the cats, then stood well back. Once they had it drank, they saluted the woman and left. Her own cat, though, remained. There was a woman who lived alone in the townland of Raheen. It was summertime, and she used to go out every evening to the field to milk the cow. One evening she saw a cat sitting on a wall near her, and when she was returning home, the cat followed her to the house. She took no notice of it, thinking that it belonged to one of her neighbours. The next evening, the same thing happened. Then, on the third evening, when she got to the house, she gave the cat a saucer of milk. The cat drank all the milk, and when it had finished, the cat turned to her and said, "It is a good thing you gave me milk this afternoon." And with that, the cat disappeared and was seen no more. One evening, as a man was coming home from his work, he thought he saw a piece of paper at the bottom of a tree, but when he was going by it, a cat leaped up on his shoulder. Well, this cat stopped with him for a certain distance, and then it jumped off and walked beside him for a while. Then the cat leaped up on his shoulder again, and the man didn't know what to do. He was afraid to hit the cat for fear of the good people. By this time, the cat had been with him for about 2 miles, and the man said to the cat, "Well, you have come this far with me. I will bring you home." Just as he said that, the cat disappeared off his shoulder, and he never saw it anymore. Mickey Stenson, who lived in the townland of Dubeg, had a fort on his land. One day, when he was out walking on the fort, he saw a grand grey cat. He was so delighted with the cat that he wrapped it in the tail of his jacket and brought it home with him. When he reached home, he put the cat into the barn and gave it a saucer of milk. Then he went into the house. In about a half-hour's time, he went back to the barn to see if the cat had drunk its milk, and there wasn't an inch of that barn roof that wasn't covered with cats. So he let the grey lad go, and they all went along with him. A man nicknamed Johnny Dowler lived in Sconce. Now he had a cat which was as big as a big dog. In front of his door there was a hill on which heath grew. This hill was known as Brocken Hill. One day a neighbouring man came into Johnny's and in the course of his conversation said, "Brocken Hill is on fire." The cat, which was sitting on the middle of the floor, heard this and said, "If that be so, my bellows and tools will be burned." It dashed out through the door and was never heard of afterwards. This cat was supposed to be one of the good people. One night, an old woman was sitting up very late spinning when a knocking came to the door. "Who is there?" she asked. There was no answer, but still the knocking went on. "Who is there?" she asked a second time. No answer, but still the knocking went on. "Who is there?" she asked the third time in a very angry passion. Then there came a small voice. "Judy, let me in, for I am cold and hungry. Open the door, Judy, and let me sit by the fire, for the night is cold out here. Judy, let me in, let me in." The heart of Judy was touched, for she thought it was some small child that had lost its way. She rose up from her spinning and went and opened the door. In walked a large black cat with a white breast and 2 white kittens after her. They all made over to the fire and began to warm and dry themselves, purring all the time very loudly. But Judy said never a word, only went on spinning. Then the black cat spoke at last. "Judy, don't stay up so late again, for the fairies wanted to hold a council here tonight and to have some supper. But you have prevented them, so they were very angry and determined to kill you. And only for myself and my 2 daughters here, you would be dead by this time. So take my advice. Don't interfere with the fairy hours again, for the night is theirs. and they hate to look on the face of a mortal when they are out for pleasure or business. And now give me a drink of milk, for I must be off." And after the milk was finished, the cat stood up and called her daughters to come away. "Good night, Judy," she said. "You have been very civil to me, and I'll not forget it to you. Good night, good night." With that, the black cat and the two kittens whisked up the chimney. But Judy, looking down, saw something glittering on the hearth, and taking it up, she found it was a piece of silver, more than she could ever make in a month by her spinning, and she was glad in her heart, and never again sat up so late to interfere with the fairy hours. But the black cat and her daughters came no more again to her house. Did you know some believe that fairy cats try to steal the soul of one who has died? To protect the soul of the deceased, rollicking music was played in order to entice the fairy cat to dance instead of seeking the soul of the deceased. There are many cultural customs that involve cats, and these include funerals. The people who were there at a funeral would do everything they could to make sure that the cat was kept busy so that they didn't pass over the body of the dead before the burial. Both day and night, the body was guarded during a wake, and many of the distractions were designed specifically to appeal to the cat's playful nature. They would play these games to distract the cat because they believed that the cat would either want to watch the game or to join in. And they would also light the fireplace in every room except the one where the body was, so that the cat would want to lay next to the warmth of the fire and well away from the deceased. Catnip was another method used, and they would spread it in the rooms away from the body. And music was played to the cat, and people would dance and enjoy the music, and this would also keep the cat from going to the body. And one other thing, and I love this one, riddles would be asked in the room that the cat was in. The riddles would never be answered, so that the cat would ponder over the answer and forget about the soul that it had come for. I really hope you've enjoyed this weird collection of stories. You know, fairies can and do take many forms. Could there be an easier way for fairy to gain entry to the home and the family of humans than to appear as a beguiling cat? Imagine all they could learn about us. If fairies truly wanted to know us, to understand us, it seems the perfect way for them to do it, doesn't it? We're none the wiser for it. In fact, we love it, don't we? If we're sat in a room with others and yours is the lap that the cat chooses to sit on, to knead with their wee paws or rub their head against your head, it makes us feel so special that in that moment we are the chosen one. Do I dare extend this thought? Stick with me on this. If a cat likes you, really likes you, could that mean that the fairies might like you too? Let me know what you think in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, please consider joining me as a member of the channel. Members receive early access to videos and have their name featured on every video too. Just click on the join button below for more info. It's easy and safe, and I would really appreciate your support. Until next time, stay curious. Cheerio.